Good day, everyone. I am Spencer Tongcua, and we will now continue our discussion in Chapter 8, which is all about communicating and reporting of assessment data from alternative methods. From the previous discussion, you've learned about feedback. This time, our discussion is all about why is feedback a powerful means to help learners improve. Why is feedback a powerful means to help learners improve? So, feedback provides a specific information to learners on what they need to do to revise or redo their task in a better way. The content of feedback can be number one, the part of the answer or response that needs to be corrected. Number two, the specific strategy to be used to perform the task. Number three, the suggested procedure that needs to be undertaken by the learner. Number four, a direction to the learner where to find the answer. And lastly, a challenge to the learner to think about the appropriate response. This time, we will discuss it one by one. First, the part of the answer or response that needs to be corrected. So, ang feedback is importante sa ating mga students upang malalaman natin kung saan na part tayo nagkamali or nag-improve. And then, kung saan na part tayo nagkamali is maaayos through sa feedback ni teacher. And pag nasabit na natin ulit yung ginawa nating task is correct na. And number two, the specific strategy to be used to perform the task. So, ang feedback is ginawa ng strategy ng teacher upang ma-perform o magawa ng maayos ni students ang kanilang task. Just like for example, nag-roleplay yung mga students and then may nakita si teacher na pagkukulang, then ang gagawin ni teacher is iti-take note and then i-feedback yon ni teacher para next time aware na yung students sa kanilang gagawin na ma-improve palalo yung kanilang task. Number 3 is the suggested procedure that needs to be undertaken by the learner. So the suggested procedure that needs to be undertaken by the learner is through listening. Through listening kasi ni students sa feedback ni teacher like suggestion is my new learning yung students. Number 4, a direction to the learner where to find the answer. A direction to the learner where to find the answer is through the topic or towards someone that he or she is talking with. A very conversational or interesting topic is makukuha mo ang mga sagot sa tanong mo. A good conversation, a good feedback is one way for you to have a better answer. Lastly, a challenge to the learner to think about the appropriate response. For me, the challenge to the learner is when the conversation or feedback is not that clear because the most important thing to converse is that to give and to take of the topic so that the receiver or the learner will give out a good response. So, feedback is given every time students perform a task, whether it is a paper and pencil test or performance task. Feedback is provided either during or after the performance. Feedback during performance. Feedback during performance can be verbal or non-verbal. Verbal feedback can be written in a big signage like a poster or a handy whiteboard visible to the learner. This is possible to do when a performance cannot be stopped, like one is currently dancing or singing. When we say feedback during performance, ito yung mga feedback na binibigay ng mga teacher or judges na ginagawa during performance ni students, and binibigay ito like form of whiteboard na sinusulat doon ni teacher and ipapakita lang yon ni students, just like for example, merong extemporaneous speech and then hindi siya mapapastop ni teacher. Ang gagawin ni teacher is isusulat na doon, just like for example, make your voice louder if hindi maririnig ni teacher yung sinasabi ni students. And feedback after performance. Feedback can also be given after the performance of the task. This is appropriate when learners are provided another opportunity to revise and show again the performance. This is applicable for writing essays and compositions where student the complete work before a full feedback is provided. So, feedback after performance, ito yung ginagawa ni teacher after nagawa ni students ang isang task. Just like for example, writing essay is sumulat yung students ng essay and then merong mali na nakita yon ni teacher and then i-feedback niya yon. Katulad ng ginagawang research, if may kulang is or may mali is mag-feedback yon si teacher, isusulat niya doon kung saan na part kayo nagkamali. So, to make feedback powerful means to help learners improve, the following can be considered. Number 1, feedback needs to be specific and concrete. Number 2, feedback needs to be based on the agreed criteria. Number 3, feedback should provide recommendation or suggestions on how to improve performance. So, to make feedback needs to be specific and concrete, the following are illustrations of general and specific feedback. So, we will start discussing here in general before the specific feedback. So, general feedback. When a teacher say the essay is good, so saying that the essay is good does not provide idea to the learners which part of the essay is good. The learners might think that the essay is good in all aspects. So, the specific feedback na gagawin ni teacher is you start the paragraph in your essay with a topic sentence and supporting sentence were provided after. This helps strengthening the points you want to make. So, that feedback is specific in saying why the feedback is good based on the structure of the sentence in the paragraph. Another one is the painting needs improvement. I can't see any object. So, this is a broad feedback kasi di naman sinabi kung anong specific part na painting i-improve, and ang gagawin sa specific feedback is perhaps you may want to use other colors in your painting so that we can distinguish the object. So, that feedback is specific in giving a recommendation on what can be done on painting. Number 2, feedback needs to be used on the agreed criteria. So, the criteria serve as a guide to provide feedback on the work. For example, the criteria in writing a technical paper are as follow. So, the part are organized according to the guide questions. The ideas are well understood by the readers. The information included are accurate. More than 5 references are used. So, feedback not based on criteria is there are several grammatical errors in the paper. So, the appropriate feedback na kay ibibigay is the feedback based on criteria. Just like for example, check again the idea conveyed by the authors in the journal because there are discrepancies on page 3. So, that feedback is pertaining to the criteria on accuracy of information. Another one, the heading needs to be in bold font. So that feedback is not based on criteria. So the proper way of giving feedback that is based on criteria is add one more reference to support further your claim on benefits of using organic fertilizer on page 5. So that feedback is based on criteria because it is pertaining to the criteria on references. And lastly, number 3, feedback should provide recommendation or suggestions on how to improve performance. Just like for example, the bad and the good feedback. Just like for example, in bad feedback, I cannot hear your voice. The proper way of giving that feedback is make your voice louder. And another one, why are you looking at the ceiling while speaking? And the proper way of giving that feedback is look at your classmate when you speak in front. And that is the example of feedback that provide recommendation or suggestions on how to improve performance. So that's the end of our discussion for today, class. Thank you for listening.